Welcome to this webcast on effective analytics made easy with IDEA. These webcasts are being brought to you by Automation Services, the USA provider of Caseware IDEA data analysis solutions. One of our business goals is to help our clients get the most out of their investment in IDEA. While IDEA has a reputation of being the go-to tool for large and/or difficult file analysis, it is just as capable in handling everyday normal audit testing, as you will see over the next 20 minutes. The general ledger is the core of the financial system, so obviously that's a key area to audit. It drives the creation of financial reports, and by using IDEA, we can easily analyze 100% of the data, allowing us to reach a deeper understanding of the company's operations. You can see on my desktop I have a detailed journal entry file open. Looking at the IDEA desktop, you will notice that IDEA has a Manage Project focus. One of the first things to learn is how to add client source files. You can see here a folder for source files. Hover over the folder and right-click and Add File to navigate where you have your client data files. Select the files you want to add and pull them over into your source files. I've already added the file that we need for this demonstration, so I'm going to cancel without adding any more files. You have two project views that you can toggle between. Right now I'm in the Manage Project Library folder view, and I can easily switch to the Explorer file view. There's a few things I do every time I open up a client data file for the first time. The first thing I do is I adjust my desktop so I get the best view of my data. By picking up the left side and dragging it, you see I'm overlaying the file properties, and if I want to maximize it, I can come up here and use the push-pull pin, and as I hover over it, the tab flies open. I can do the same thing on the right side, overlaying the database properties, and again I can maximize it. The second thing I do is I want to make certain that the database administrator gave me the data files that I need and that they're in the format that I need them in. So an easy way to bring that up is by right-clicking anywhere on the desktop, any cell, and it will bring up the dialog box, which includes field manipulation. By selecting that, you see I have a nice layout of all of the data fields in this file. If I want to change a field name, I move over here on the left side, double click on the name, and I can easily type over and change the field name to anything I want. All that does is change the name that appears on the database. It does not change any of the underlying data. If I need to change the field name data element type, I can move over to the next column, select it, and select one of the drop-down alternatives such that it matches the test that I'm going to perform with it. I don't see anything wrong with the record layout, so I'm going to cancel without making any changes. The third thing I do is I want to validate the data that I receive from the client. It's always a good idea to confirm with the client that all of the requested data was exported, transmitted, and then imported into IDEA correctly. You need to do this before you start working on the audit to keep the audit running smoothly. To accomplish this, on the right side under the database properties, I want to take a look at the field statistics. So I'll navigate over to the right side, select field statistics, and you'll notice that IDEA is telling me that I did not generate the statistics when I imported this file, but I can easily select yes, and I've invoked IDEA's built-in data mining capabilities. This is done every time you bring a file into IDEA. You see that you have three views: numeric, date, and time. So let's start with the numeric. There's a lot of information on here, and if you want to narrow it down to focus on the key fields that you need to reconcile on, you can come up here and use the clear all icon, and it removes the information. To pull back just the fields that you want to validate, you can come over to the left side where all the numeric fields in this file are listed, and you can check the left side and it brings back just the information that you need to reconcile. You'll probably already notice some of the statistics are in blue. They are hyperlinked, so you can use IDEA's data mining capabilities to drill down and take a look at the underlying records very easily. The next view is the date view. I do have one date field in this database, and again you see ideas providing you with a lot of information. I basically scan this information looking for anything unusual. You'll notice that it gives you the earliest date, the latest date, the most common day, gives you the input totals by month, and as you scan down it then gives you the input totals by the day of the week. You'll notice down here there are 42 entries on a Sunday. I'm not really aware that the client works on Sunday, so I want to save a view to remind me to discuss this with the client. In the lower right hand corner I click on the save, I give it a unique file name, hit OK. I now have a new file under my project files with that name. I have not extracted anything from the parent file. The last view is the time field in this file. Again, I scan down looking for anything unusual. You can see how easy it is to adjust your screen. And I see down here that there are 73 records before 6 a.m. It seems unusual that the accounting people would be working at that hour, so I want to drill down and take a look at that. And I also want to save that. So just call that records before 6 a.m. Again, you want to give it a unique file name so it means something when you see it over on the left side. So to close up the field statistics and go back to the data so we can get started on our audit, we navigate on the right side under the database properties and we move up to data and click, and we're right back in the parent file. So again, even though we've saved a couple of views on the left side, the parent file is intact and we're ready to start working. Let's move forward into what we want to do today. So we don't have a lot of time. We're going to do 3 tests. The first test is basically to determine that the general ledger is in balance by looking for any non-balancing journal entries. Non-balancing journal entries do not total to 0. While many accounting programs will not allow the client to generate statements if the general ledger is out of balance, there could be a supervisor override. Also, if someone knows how to navigate to the backside of the system around the application to the database, they could make changes. So as I look at my open file, I basically want to look for journal entries that do not equal 0. So I see I have a couple of little challenges here. First off, my record is split into debit and credit fields, and I need to bring those together. So of course IDEA doesn't allow you to operate directly on the client data. We need to insert an audit work field. The easiest way to do that is to bring up the field manipulation by right-clicking on any cell on my desktop and bring up the field manipulation. On the right side you see the function append, add a new field to the database, and we select that, and we're just going to call this amount. So this is going to be a field for us to do our work in. I'm going to leave it virtual numeric in case I make a mistake on the formula and I want to come back and fix it. And since my debit and credit fields are both have 2 decimals, I'm going to make this one set to 2 decimals as well. So that's what it takes to add a field, but now I need to tell IDEA what I want to populate that field with. I come over to the middle of the dialog box under the parameter column, and I come down to my new field amount, and I click anywhere in that shaded rectangle, and it brings up my equation editor. Here at the top we see all the operators that we need for our formulas. We see a white box here where we're going to actually insert our formula, and at the bottom all of the records that are available for use in this file are listed down here, so we don't need to print them out or try to remember what they're called. In this case, I want to pull the debits and credits together, so I start with the debit, and as I type, IDEA pulls up close reminders, and I can select the debit right there, minus credit. Again, IDEA is helping me. Debit minus credit is what I want in this field. I can check the syntax by clicking on the icon between the green check and the red X. It passes. Idea's got a reminder here. If you don't want to see the reminder, you can click don't show this message again and it'll go away. We now have a new field over here called amount. I just want to kind of eyeball check it to make certain that it worked the way I thought it would. I'm just going to highlight that column and drag and drop it next to the debit and the credit. So as you look down through there, looks like it worked fine. So that was the first little challenge. The second challenge I have is I have all the line item details for the journal entries, and I need to pull them together into one record or one row per journal entry. Again, we're going to use one of Idea's built-in functions. We're going to use the summarization. It's under the analysis tab. I navigate over here and I select it. If you need to brush up or need a primer on how that function works, you'll notice there's a help button and you can easily click on it and pull up the HTML help. You get a definition and a step-by-step and even examples of how to use that function. So we want to pull together the journal entry numbers so that we end up with one record per row. We're going to give it a name so that when it shows up in my work folders I can recognize sum by journal entry. I do want to total on our new amount field, and hopefully all of them will be 0. Under statistics to include, under this area, you see we can get a lot of information, but to perform this test we just basically need the sum. I can add additional fields if I want by clicking here. Let's hit OK. And so we now have a new child file, and you'll notice that I have one record per journal entry. We can drill down and see the underlying records if we need them. You'll notice that the number of records is hyperlinked, but you can see on the desktop that it looks like they all do balance to 0. But with Idea we can test 100% very easily. I'm going to do a direct extraction over here. Again, if you need help you can click on the help. I pull up the direct extraction function. I give it a name. We'll call it non-balancing journal entries. I click in the middle of the dialog box under the calculator looking icon and it brings up the equation editor. Again, here's where we're going to put our equation. Look at our new field, amount. I can double click on it and Idea will pop it up into the equation, and I'm looking for instances where the amount sum does not equal 0. I pick my operator, finish the equation, check the syntax, passes, push it across the database, and you'll notice here that I have 5 journal entries that did not balance to 0. We can drill down to see the underlying details if we need. So that test is done. The second test that we want to do is look for missing journal entries by doing a gap detection test. The gap detection feature is under the analysis menu. Again, I need to close up these files and get back to the parent file. I just clicked on the close button, and under the analysis we see gap detection. Again, if we need to refresh our memory we can hit the help button. I'm not certain there are gaps in this file. I'm just going to run a quick test to the desktop on the journal entry number. Hit OK, and we see that there are sizable gaps missing in this file, so maybe we want to provide this analysis to the client so they can start doing some research to find out where the missing journal entries are. A quick way to redo this test is use the rerun feature. By clicking on the icon, the rerun icon, we bring up the last dialog box that we're on, and this time I actually want to create a file output. Just call it journal entry gap detection. Hit OK, and now under my project folder I see I have journal entry gap detection. So there's a nice neat table that I can either send a screenshot to the client or an output file. That's the second test that we wanted to do. The last test is to select a large debit balance items for specific testing. So you already have seen how easy it is to do a direct extraction, so this time I'm going to show you another way to conduct the same test. So again, we get back to our parent file. It's all intact, we haven't removed anything. And I'm just going to index or sort the debit items in descending order. So by double clicking, I can easily index one field. And again, IDEA understands that you do not want to corrupt your client records, so everything is intact. If I just wanted to select items over 10,000, an easy way to do that is to do a Save Selected Records. So by moving over to the Record Count field and hold down the Control key, I can highlight just those records that I want to select. When I have them selected, I right-click anywhere on the field, bring up the dialog box, and hit the Save As Selected. I give it a file name, just call it Large Debit Items. Make certain that the Save Only Selected Records is checked. Hit OK. And we have not extracted anything from the parent file, but we now have a new file called Large Debit Items, which contains the items that I want. From there, I can easily add editable fields and turn that into electronic work paper and start doing my testing right there. So that's the 3 tests that I wanted to show you. I look forward to seeing you at future webcasts, so thank you for attending. If you would like our assistance with using IDEA to conduct these tests or other tests, supported users can call the Automation Services Help Desk at 888-641-2800. We also want to remind you of our training opportunities, which are listed on our website at automation.com under Training. Thank you.